Willie Waldman.
Hi, Willie Waldman here. Dead Tour, LSD Adventures with Tom Nordwall, my good friend from 85. Adventures of Acid, the Acid King.
Hey, first 5 records you did that put you on the map. Wasn't it Sublime to start?
Yeah, it would be, first was the DoggFather record.
Okay.
Vapor Song. And then it would be Tupac, California Love. And then actually Sublime, we did start before that. So actually it'd be the first one would be Sublime. My partner Dave Aaron and I went to Memphis State University, interned at Sun Records, went out to Los Angeles after Tom's book because our friends all got busted for selling acid back there. And it was big trouble in Memphis. So Dave and I bailed to Los Angeles in 91. I in my 67 VW bus because I wrecked the red van on Quaaludes, actually. I sure did. So
I wondered what happened to it.
Yeah, the red van died on Quaaludes. The end of the Quaaludes, too. It was the last time we ever saw Quaaludes, I think. But yeah.
That's probably good.
Yeah, anyway. So Dave and I, he got an internship at Weir Studios, the fanciest studio in town with a guy named Casey Cohen, Michael Jackson, Paul Abdul, engineer printer. So I was a little assistant kid, so... Anyway, we were painting boats around 92. I was living on a Chris Craft, an old Chris Craft wood boat in Marina Del Rey. And I met John Phillips, and he's currently manager of Slightly Stupid and Ivan Neville. But in those days, he was running Gasoline Alley, the label for Sublime. And he asked, Willie, you think Dave Aaron will come down and record the Sublime album down in 40 Ounces to Freedom down in Wabi? So Dave and I took a bunch of our studio gear, my 400 Soundcraft B, that we had hot rodded with SSL chips and stuff from our Memphis Free World days down to this garage hangout down on the beach. And there's where we started Sublime. And Sublime was really interesting because, you know, the first thing Herman Green did out of Dave and I was get rid of the marching band horns, like, you know, which was my date rape song. So I did date rape for $50. And the funny thing was, these guys were really into this marching band horns, the ska thing. You know
yeah, of course.
Which is this little mix, I'd call it, of reggae and marching band horns. And I had another band those days called Ska Daddies with all these famous surfers, Jesse and them in Ventura. And again, we had this marching band horns going down with this punk beat, which was kind of like polka music, because I started with polka music as a kid. Oompa, 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 real fast.
I never asked you where you really got your influence, but
well,
yeah, I can hear that.
High school polka.
I can hear that.
With my buddy Uncle Ralph, you know, and the polka beat is really the fucking ska, Sublime / reggae, no doubt beat. You know, unka, 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 unka. It's a lot of upbeats.
Absolutely.
Right? A lot of upbeat. It really originates in polka music. So it's not like they did anything new there, right? So I called it beach music, usually. So we had about 6 months of what I called dirts, and a lot of dirt with some diamonds.
Yeah.
And so Dave Aaron and this guy named Marshall, who was kind of like their in-house DJ guy, they comped together that whole 40 Ounces to Freedom record.
Which is great,
iconic,
great initial record.
Dave Aaron is the mixer. And during the middle of
now, you and Dave ran Snoop Studio too.
Yeah,
okay. That's your buddy you've told me about. That I never met him.
Death Row Records. Dave Aaron. He went to Dead shows with us.
Oh, really?
Yes, he did.
Okay.
Oh yeah, he went to Alpine Valley.
Rad.
He was there.
So how many?
Dave was there. You met Dave. You just don't remember. Dave.
That's probably yeah. No. That's
remember
probably
I had the whole camp of Memphis guys with the VWV.
Oh yeah. I do.
I took Dave. Yeah. Dave went to the Dead show.
Hell yeah.
You just don't remember his name.
How many years did you guys run Snoop Studio?
Well, he did until he died in 217 of Asherton Caps. So he became the house engineer for Snoop and Tupac. I'm going to say 94. So anyway, Dave Aaron and I were really deadheads. We had met Tom on tour. Actually, Dave Aaron was at the same show. This is Tom, the famous Nordy, the famous skateboarder, you know, snowboarder. He was on the same missions, not all of them, not as many as I and Tom were on. I would say Dave went to about 20 Dead shows with me, but we were definitely not hip-hop people. You know, we were not.
Yeah, you and I went to way over 100.
But even Dave. So we fell into this job with Snoop Dogg in the middle of the night cutting we were working for Casey Cohen, and Snoop and him come in about 3 in the morning and got all scared, ran off. And Dave and I just said, if we got $2,500 for the boss, we'll start your session right now. So we started our first Death Row sessions then. And then, I did Tupac, I did the East Siders, I've got Soldier Story with a duet with me and Snoop, Monique. I don't know, there's about 30 songs.
Warren G?
Oh, yeah, I did on Warren G and Nate Dogg. Let's see, we got a Cyprus Hill because we did Be Real's solo record. Coolio,
You got a Grammy. You got a Grammy for Coolio, didn't you?
Salt and Pepper, TLC Cream. I don't know, there's just tons of stuff we did. But most of it happened because I'm hanging with Dave Aaron in these big fancy studios. And even stuff like TLC Creep, they're just in the room next door. We're hanging.
Sure.
Playing for a week. That's where you get a horn part with Wutang Clan. And, you get these little horn. And we're there 24 hours a day. So,
So they're the other groups that you just mentioned are in the studios right next door.
Multiple rooms.
Yeah. Big recording.
The big Larrabee recording studios, there's usually 2, if not 3 separate studios going down in a commercial facility. How's this? You got a desk lady.
Right.
And like a doctor's office, there's Suite 1 with an SSL. Track record, where he did a lot of stuff on Magnolia Boulevard, had a knee. Like the Fleetwood Mac. The Fleetwood Mac guys were there one day.
Yeah.
We're with Snoop Dogg and Track Record. And here's the interesting thing. I go in the other room and the drum set's set up so high. I'm like, why is the, Like, no. So Mick Fleetwood walks in. This guy's like 6'10".
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. He's basketball player size.
Wow, man. His drum set looked like it was made for Goliath, right? You know what I mean? So, but again, that's how I got on some of these other things. Christina Aguilera, just a lot of different things. Dave also worked for Jennifer Lopez. And then we eventually, we lived in the Hollywood Hills. We had a killer house on top of the Hollywood Hills. So we got to produce not only Banyan, but the Rob Wasserman Space Island record. And here was a good one here. So we made...
Love Wasserman, miss him.
Yeah, we miss Wasserman. So going back to our Dead adventures, I saw the Bobby Wasserman thing and always dreamed of playing with this guy, right?
Oh, dude, you always were on tour. You'd be like, I'll play with those guys one day. Yeah, I want to be up there.
So
that's yours.
So anyway, we the Tupac murders went down, which kind of fucked everything up. Dave still was Snoop's engineer on the Master P.
Right.
Then we did East Sider.
Yeah, that's when Snoop went down south.
And then Dave started doing live sound, but we started live sound in Free World. In Free World with Alan Spindell, Ronnie Cattell, where we were already doing quadraphonic sound because we saw it at the Dead. And we built all this custom gear to do quad sound like we saw at the Dead. Yeah, we did.
That's killer.
We wanted some Irish speakers, couldn't afford it. But now we're hot rodding all our gear with SSL chips and bigger capacitors. And we're into this whole Dead sound thing, especially the quadraphonic sound. So Dave started doing live sound for Snoop. God, I imagine he went around the world 10 times.
Wow,
215.
that's amazing.
Continuing to do his records. But again, we weren't really Deadhead. So anyway, during all this, my buddy Ross Rice, who my current record is done with, Buffalo Monroe, we're on the jazz radio charts now with Buffalo Monroe.
This came out 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
3 weeks ago.
24 here, June. So anyway, Ross goes, I met this guy at this singer-songwriters conference in Nashville. He might want to do this gig. So I cold call Rob Wasserman and say, hi, I'm Willie Waldman. I'm producing with Stephen Perkins and Jane's Addiction, the Banyan Anytime at All record. And see, Perkins was a huge Deadhead because his brother Mark was a huge Deadhead. Perkins' brother Mark, who sadly died in high school, or right after high school. And, Perkins was a little younger than him. But Perkins' brother Mark was a huge Deadhead like Tom. Had all the cassette tapes. Had all the cassette tapes and stuff. So Perkins is like, oh my God, do you think we can get Rob Wasserman? Do you think we can get Rob Wasserman? I said, I don't know, we'll call him. So we call him. He answers the phone. I go, man, I'm Willie Waldman. I'm producing this record with Stephen Perkins, Anytime at All. We'd like to hire you to be on the record, because we're on Virgin Records. I got a
absolutely.
nice $20K budget, So sure enough, he says, all right, can you guys got $2,000 in a room and da-da-da. So literally, we say, sure. I think we sent a deposit, but whatever. We put the deal together, and he comes down. And anyway, it was a dream come true for me and Perkins to have Rob Wasserman. And then we also had Flea on this record, and Mike Watt, Nels Klein, John from Shanti, and the Chili Pepper.
Okay,
Martin
so
Noble.
Banyan is the supergroup that you and Perkins started back in the day.
Started it a little before I got involved.
Okay.
He did an original record with Nels Klein and Watt, but it kind of was, let's just say it was in mothballs.
Sure.
And I met Perkins at a Perry Farrell session doing his solo record, a song yet to be sung. We had a big party at Dave Aaron's, and he came to our party. We didn't know who he was. And he was giving us a bunch of shit, like I sampled the horn part. I'm like, fuck you, man. Cannon. Hit it again. Then I said, well, what do you do? Not knowing who he is. He goes, oh, I'm a singer. So we just thought he was some bullshit singer down for the Sunset Strip. Right?
Yeah.
And we go, all right, sing a part. Anyways, management calls us a couple of days later, and we go down, Dave Aaron on clarinet, and I do horns on 3 songs on Perry Farrell's solo record. Well, in the middle of that, we meet Stephen Perkins. He goes, oh, man, I've been wanting to jam with a trumpeter and do some just improv avant-garde shit. So really, to me, the Banyan thing is Perkins, a world-class drummer with different bass players and stuff, just because it's different flavors. And all these awesome bass players. So again, Watt, I don't want to say anybody's better than anybody. So it's one flavor, we had Watt, you know what I mean? We had Wasserman as a flavor. We had Monty Lenovo, we've had Tony Frank on a velo over the years.
Norwood
Fisher of Fishbone, Andy Calder on the smaller levels, Andy Miller, different guys all over. It was just kind of open. Clint Wagner on guitar, Ross Rice from my Free World crew.
We were on, Clint was on tour with us, wasn't he?
Yeah,
a little bit.
Yeah, Clint was on tour with you too.
Yeah.
Yes, Clint was at those gigs too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just Nordy doesn't remember the names. That's
I'm getting them back.
Get them back. Yes.
I'm glad I remember your fucking name.
Were you at the Milwaukee show we all went to with Clint? There was an epic Milwaukee show with a Terrapin.
I'm sure.
Oh boy. Did you go to the UIC shows?
Yeah.
Ooh, Clint was at those.
Yeah, 87 UIC was
Dave
nuts,
and Clint were both at those. We actually rode up with this guy named Troll who got 8 years in jail for acid with tanks of nitrous. And we stop at my dad's office. My brother will be pissed. And we stop at my dad's office, and he's doing a balloon out in the street as my dad's coming out in a 3-piece suit for the UIC gig. You know, I'm like, damn. So anyway, we hit it off with Wasserman, but the best part about it is after any time off, he had a deal with Atlantic Records, so we did his solo record, Space Island, which is basically all bass, no guitar, and electronic beats. Dave did like Snoop sound, a few horn parts. You know, I sprinkled a couple parts. But in general, it's just all Wasserman.
I love that.
Yeah.
I miss him. I loved him with Rat Dog.
So in a weird way, when Rat Dog fired him, I was in heaven because I took him everywhere. I did. I had him up in Minnesota, Duluth, Fargo. We played all these little shitholes all over Vail, Colorado, Creston, Butte, Denver.
And this is a while ago before, like when they really did have little shitty bars. Yeah.
203. You know, that's kind of, you know, but the bomb of all this was I go to my first Dead shows with Sarah, and she's Uncle Bobby, and she gets 10 passes. So, the Shoreline, the first one I go to.
This is Wasserman's daughter.
And there was like 2 more guys that needed a pass. She calls up Uncle Bobby. Some guy brings down 2 passes. Gotta love this shit, right? Gotta love this shit. So this was right before the first time I sit in with him, which would be 201, the Kaiser. Now, of all my Dead shows, the Kaiser was my favorite. I think 87.
That's where I saw. I've seen 31 shows at Kaiser. I've seen more shows there than anywhere else, dude. And I saw probably 25 of those with you.
Yeah, they were the best. So here's my dream come true of all the shit I've done. Oh my God! So I go and I'm playing with John Molo. So wait, starting with Banyan, here's how Molo gets involved. So we meet Perkins and Perry Farrell's, and he invites me to his house to jam. Dave doesn't think he's going to answer the phone, but he answers the phone. So we go to Perkins' house. This would be June '98, if I got it right. Yeah. And we go at noon because the traffic's not bad. The Valley, you know, he's on like Tampa and Victory in the Valley. And so we go over there, and like the who's there. We got Tom Morello come jamming, we got Flea jamming, we got Taylor Hawkins all the time because he loved Perkins. Well, we did double drums a bunch with Perkins and
R.I.P. Taylor.
So Molo lived down the street from Perkins, about a mile away. Molo would ride his bike over there. And we did this double drum thing. So I knew this Molo guy was a good drummer, but I wasn't sure he was. Like a lot of guys coming through Perkins' house, I really didn't know who I was always playing with. You know, Schulman and Garbage, who I played with, Tony Franklin of the Firm. You know, but again, a lot of rock stars coming through. The Cyprus Hill conga player. Oh, God, we had some Marilyn Manson guys. George, I don't know, lots of different big rock stars coming to what I call Perkins' 6-period high school jam, you know, about noon to 3, you know, or 1 to 3, right? The classic band hour. But Molo's one of these guys. So my buddy Joyce Hold'em, that Tom gave me some.
R.I.P. Joyce.
So
that's a whole nother story. We'll get into that one later.
Right now.
We'll get into that one. No. Save that one.
Right,
Save that one.
Joyce
Save that one.
This project for a solo record for me in 201 called Trumpet Ride. I got on the top 20 charts, and I hired Molo from these, from meeting him at Perkins' house. And so my Willie Waldman Trumpet Ride project was really Molo and Tony Franklin, Schulman, to get a little break from Banyan. I do have Perkins on a couple songs, yes. He's on like 3 songs, but in general, I try to make a little break. So we started doing the project in town with Greg Kirsten. Greg Kirsten's an 8-time Grammy winner keyboardist. So our group in those days was Woody Applinapp and Greg Kirsten, Molo, Tony Franklin, and me, or John Avila. Because I kind of wanted to separate myself from the Mike Watt, Nels Clan.
John from Oingo Boingo.
Yeah, John Avila's from Oingo Boingo and Danny Melvin. So that gave my little project a little break from not being everybody from Banyan, you know, which was always our etiquette, Dave and I. I'm not using everybody, you know, they go a little different. So I so bright. So we loved Molo. So my first time getting to sit in with Phil was I go the first night and I get to play Eyes of the World at 201 Kaiser, which is huge, right? So the second night I go to the place and I bumped into Wasserman. He invites me to Bob Weir's. And we're partying up. And by the way, at Phil Lesh's, you're on marching band probation on Broken Glass G-rated, right? So I go to Bob Weir's, there's mushrooms, and we have a couple beers, and he invites me to play Bird Song and some other songs. So
Terrapin.
No, not the first
one. No,
one.
that was a different one, yeah.
No.
Yeah, okay.
Bird Song and another one. I forget the other one. I think it's Scarlet. So anyway, I play these 2 songs, Dream Come True with Bob Weir, the second night at Kaiser. I go back to the Phil Lesh back room and they go, oh my God. I go, what? You fucked up. You played with Bobby. You can't play with us now. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? You fucked up. You can't play with
why?
Bobby. I'm like, what do you mean? What high school band shit are we on? What high school band quickie bullshit are we on? Yeah, it was high school band quickie shit because those 2 are in competition. High school band. So anyway, since I played with Bob Weir, I didn't get to play with Phil the second night. Uh-oh. But anyway, so I got to play, I think, over the whole mess 8 or 10 times with Bob Weir. I think my favorite of all of them was the Terrapin. I got to do 2 more with Phil, and the best one I did with Phil was 206 Telstar at the Ames Research Center.
Oh, that shit is fire. So and Molo on drums.
Yeah, we'll post that soon. But no guitar in the whole time. You know what I mean? And I talked to Phil about his trumpet. What kind of trumpet did you play? Oh, a Besson. And we all had to play the Telemann Trumpet Concerto and the Hummel Trumpet Concerto.
If people don't know, trumpet is Phil's first instrument, by the way.
And he went to university. See, everybody goes to university on trumpet. There's 3 things you got to play. The Haydn Trumpet Concerto, the Hummel Trumpet, everybody. Even Miles Davis went to conservatory. And he had to play that stuff to get into Juilliard. See, nobody in those days got into Juilliard or any of that stuff without playing classical music. I mean, that was a must, right? This wasn't just these days where you noodle around with yourself and give somebody a tape. part. I didn't hit the hard part. Don't worry, there's some hard parts. Don't worry, that's the easy part. But anyway, we hit it off. We talk about trumpet. So I talked him into doing all improv. With all the management not too happy with me, right? Because they want just dead covers. They ain't
This is the Telstar gig in 06.
No, in 06.
Yeah.
And we talked about Cage, which was one of the big influences of Phil, and he loved that avant-garde classical music, right? And so that's what I did. I pulled Phil and all that into his youth, a high school, into back where we started. All of us started on a little trumpet concerto in high school, getting into university. We all had to go to these recitals to see Cage and Holst the Planets and Stravinsky and Bartok. So we're just going nuts on classical music. He loves Bartok, which was one of the great composers about 1910 and did really cool chords and stuff. Like Bob Weir loves McCoy Tyner. When I was hanging out with McCoy Tyner is a jazz pianist, and he plays these cluster chords, and that's what makes Bobby kind of a genius. Bob Weir told me he put two notes together, and that's called either a sus, a major seven. We got different names for them, flat nines, flat sixes. But he kind of made it simple because McCoy Tyner did these really cool cluster chords like team. And he didn't lose the tonality of the major, here comes Uncle John's band chord, right? When he hit the band chord, which we call the one, he'd add this little weird note, which allowed Jerry to do all these crazy scales and all these fractals he was doing. Otherwise, you're kind of like bluegrass, trapped in a major scale. And the major scale is... So when Bob Weir adds a funny note, you can go... You know what I mean? It opens the door.
He allows it to open.
Oh yeah, open into all other different things. Now the trick is you can't lose your major chord voicing and go too crazy with it. So again, Bob Weir is a chordal genius. So I got Phil to do this all improv jig, which is probably the best one since nobody else has been able to pull it off. And I picture that. I wish Jerry was alive. They all said that to me a million times. They said he would have loved the improv.
Yeah.
You know when I told Bob Weir about me making it all up improv, he goes, I hated that shit. Jerry made me force me to follow him in space. I hated that shit. That's what he said. He said, I hated that. Jerry forced me to follow him. I said, well, that's the best stuff you guys did. I love that shit.